Guys, so today we'll be learning about arrays, spelled like this. Arrays. Now we're getting into the hard stuff of coding, well, the more complicated stuff. So arrays, like I said last time, here, let me tell you something real quick, guys. So if you put 2 slashes like so, then you can write anything here without affecting what is run. But if you wrote anything without those dashes, the computer would actually see it, and it would get really confused. It was like, what they would think, what is this? So I'm going to use this to take notes. This is usually for notes for coders, just to remind them things and give guidelines and all that good stuff. And so in this, I will be showing our notes. In this, I'll be showing my notes. So like I said last time, an int, or a normal number, well, what we think of as a normal number, it represents one int. Wait one second. One int, like this, like x equals 1. 1 is that one int, or it's named x, but it is 1, right? So that would take up how many bytes? 4 bytes, like I've been saying. And let's just do the other ones here. 1 car, normal letter, will take up 1 byte in the computer's memory, in its storage space of its mind. And let's do another one. 1 float number with decimal, like .3. The .3 is the decimal. That would take up 4 bytes as well. This is called a float. This is called a car. This is called int. Oops. This is called int. And we use it just like we've used it here, except it equals the corresponding thing. Sorry about that. And so now, let me just tell you. So this uses 4 bytes, right? And this uses 1 byte. This uses 4 byte. So what if there were multiple in one function? Yeah, let's see here. Arrays are a collection of similar types stored next to each other. Drawers that are on top of each other. So if you wanted to put these right next to each other, these numbers, like if you wanted to put int is equal to x, int x is equal to 1 next to int y is equal to 3, then you put them both in an array. This is how you do that. Let's just see. This is how you can tell C to create the drawers or spaces for you. Oh yeah, just remembering. So you do int array, or whatever you want to call the array. You can call it R, you can call it thing, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to say array, because it lights up when I do that. So, and then you use these kind of weird parentheses, squares, and then you write how many numbers are going to be in your array. So let's do 2 actually. Let's just use these 2. And we don't have to initialize them here if we're going to put them in the array. Equals, and then you use the curly brackets and put the numbers that you want in there. But not the numbers. Actually, that's 4. Alright, I'm kind of losing how to do this, but one second. This is how we learn. Let's see. So, in this case, you don't really have to initialize them. You're skipping a couple steps here by doing this. And let's just do R just to show that you don't actually need the whole word in there. and it shouldn't have any errors. Oh, here. They don't know what X and Y is yet. Or they don't know what it is. Because we just deleted the X and Y. So it prints out nothing, right? Because all we've done is tell it that there's an array. We didn't tell it to print anything out. So now it's to the printing part. Print F. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing, but hang on. So if we wanted to print all of these out, this is what you have to do. Percent %D. Since they're all numbers, you can just represent %D, %D, %D as many numbers you want to print out. And then you just write them in order here, like if there was X and Y, you could write X, Y, and it would print out in that order, but we don't have X and Y's here. So %D, 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 and %D. And I'm doing commas here just because it looks better. And period. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to go 2, 3, 4, 5 with the commas and the period after. So I don't simply go 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not the way you're supposed to do it. This is how you're supposed to do it. Let me write it before you ask questions. And array 4, 3. Ooh. 2. And remember, semicolon always. Anyway, the reason we do R0, and R0, as you can see, it's supposed to represent 2, because that's the first number I want in here. It's the first number I want in the rest of the stuff that I want to print out. And the reason I do this is because there are 4 numbers, right? In all. And this one is the 0th number. If you know functions, this is going to be so much easier for you because this is how functions work in math. So, I know you may be associating the number 2 with the first number, but in actuality, the very first number is the 0th term. This is the 0th term. So, it's the 0th term in the whole array. The 0 represents 2. And array R1 represents 3. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. So, let's see if this works. Most probably. There you go. So this is the 0th term, the first term. Well, it's kind of contradictory to say first term. You should say the starting point. That's what I like to say. So this is the starting point. Then it goes on to the next one. It goes on to the next one. And it goes on to the next one. Because 0 is when you have nothing. And that's what you start with, right? It may be confusing at first, but after a while, it'll be easier to get. So 0th is the quote-unquote first one. Thank you for watching this episode.